So this time of the year, if your flowers have been doing pretty good like ours have, you're going to have some excessive growth going on. This is a vining plant on a trellis called a dipladena. And I'd spell it for you, but I probably wouldn't get it right. But you see how this spire is growing out of it. It is a vine, but by it doing this, it's slowed down on its blooming. So what I want to do is I'm going to take it down to where we see this next shoot coming off of. And I'm going to go right in, and our proper trimming technique is 45 degrees. So see, I just took off 2 feet. It's not excessive. This is a fast growing vine. But if I don't do some of this stuff, then I'm going to end up not getting my flowers back on. And I don't want it lanky. So this is just good little maintenance trimming. Now see, we've got back to a nice contained shrub, and I'm sure we'll probably fertilize that tonight and probably have blooms next week on again. Now this little jewel right here, real proud of this one. It's my little red miniature rose. Now on these babies, I wanted to get that out of the way so you can see. I'm going in here, and this is not really anything you have to be specific on. This is like deadheading, like your geraniums or your petunias. We're being real careful. Now see, I got new buds coming on here. Don't do that. Anything that's spent. Spent means it looks like that. Spent, that's gone. These are still a few left. Now the reason again we're doing this is because we're stimulating it to go back into bloom. And while you're doing it, just check it all out. You'll have blossoms on the sides. Now this baby will want to put on some more big time blossoms. This is just flowering stuff in here. These materials here, this is dianthus darts. This is a flower. Got an aspen tree that wanted to go ahead and germinate. Now this stuff, and I'm not going to do all of it, it's got gets your arthritis going. See how I'm just going in, and it's like I'm giving it a little haircut. And yeah, I know there's a lot of them there. That's why you just get on it. This again is called deadheading. Deadheading, when you're cutting off just blossoms. This was actually trimming and shaping. That is deadheading. Now you see how all this, there's more blossoms just down all over in there waiting. And by getting this stuff out of here, we've just about cleaned that whole plant up. My wife will be proud of that. She's usually one that does that. Now out here, these babies, and I don't have the patience to do it, she does. Deadheading petunias, these are wild petunias. These have been coming up for 8 years on the ground here, in the pot there, and then cracks in my pavers over here. I can't believe wild petunias are that good, but that's what they are. The thing is we fertilize them, but when she deadheads these, literally, I think she uses her rubber gloves, comes in here. Now deadheading on a petunia is just simply that easy. There's no thorns. Just going in, plucking the spent. See, that one's still going to open. So you have to distinguish between what's opening and what's spent. And spent's going to have that dry, ugly tip on it. I used Sluggo on these 2 weeks ago, which is organic slug and snail bait. The reason they like it is because of the moisture in the pots on these. These are pretty big pots out here. This is something, I would say this gets water, well, the sprinkler system gets it. I'm checking it with my finger. I've got moisture about that deep. So that's still pretty wet. You don't want to overwater your potted plants. And your flowering plants, yeah, your hanging baskets and stuff, you're going to have to water them probably every day. Here's my little wild rose. I have to trim this baby every 2 weeks. And so I'm trimming this one back at a slope onto the inside and not down. And Mike wanted me to tell you what not to do. This was my wife trimmed that, so she trimmed it flat. See how that's flat? We don't want that. We want that. The reason it makes sense is you don't have this branch out like this. It comes up at a nice angle.
Right.
Matches our altitude and our growth of our other plants. The foliage is showing me here that I need iron, just like on many plants. You have.
What is the indication there?
There is only the green veins left, and all of the rest of the leaf is a yellow exterior.
Okay.
So that's the key iron indicator every time. And I mean, this foliage over here is real. Let me get this out of here so we can see it.
Mm-hmm.
There's your great indicator right there.
What's a kind of general list of quick do's and don'ts that you can pay attention to when you come outside and you start doing some pruning?
Well, in the heat of the summer, rule of thumb, that's where we start. Don't trim it right now, don't prune it right now unless it's that diameter or less, because it's just not good. It's going to evaporate too much moisture out right now. Anything else than that, like our trimming of the trunks and stuff like that, that's a do. Another don't would be to hire somebody, which I see it every year in the month of September and October. It's still so warm. We've got all the cold of the winter on these broadleaf evergreens. They come in and they absolutely trim them back to this perfect little short hedge thing. They've got no insulation for our dry winter cold.
Right.
So that's a big don't. You can do that light trimming, but don't go in there and butcher them because they will die.
Right.
They most definitely will die.
And what about the uses of pruning paint? I know we had the rule of thumb there, but do you prefer the spray or the paint?
I do the pruning spray, but my preference is on something that large is to do it in the dead of the winter, and then you don't worry about anything.
Right.
Because it's dormant. We don't have sap flow. We don't have, you know, the cambium is green, but it's just there's not as much fluid going up and down the tree. It's still supplying all the twig and branch work with moistures, but it seals itself really quick in the cold. That's the biggest difference is. I wouldn't even touch these things in the summer on these because they take so much heat, and I would not want to see them suffer anymore. So right now, I've got these babies doing recoup mode. And my primary goal here is to keep the disease out of them and to keep the primary irons and stuff like that going on them. Stuff like this, I don't know, Mike. I'll probably take something like that out by next couple of weeks. But as we always say on pruning, dead is dead. So if we take that out now, I'm not going to use pruning paint, because it's dead down to the main trunk. So it's already sealed there because it's dead.
So what I'm getting from what you've been saying there, Bryan, is that if it's a large cut and it's on relatively healthy material, plant material, you should leave that until winter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's wait until after the end of November.